everyone, it's Lisa from My Dreaming Soap. Welcome to my channel. Now it's soap challenge time again today, and for this month's challenge we had to do wall pours. Now for the challenge this month, the type of wall pour you had to do was divided into the categories, with each category, so the regular, the advanced and the winners categories, all had to do a different type of wall pour. Now I'm in the winners category, so I had to do a seamless ombre pour. So with an ombre, obviously you're changing from at least one colour into another, and the main skill that we need to try and show in our soap is that we didn't want any lines in our soap. We didn't want to see a definite transition where it goes from one to the other. It needed to just flow gradually from one to another. So what I'm doing for mine is, I've just got sort of a little diagram of sort of the colours I'm hoping to achieve. This has come out on my printer a bit pinkier than I really want. It's going to be more of a purple. So I'm going to have some neon purple at the bottom here, and that's neon purple I'm using from Micah Mama. In the blue, in the middle there, I've got some blue. I'm going to be using shimmer blue. And then for my top, I've got my green. I'm going to be using my tropical green. Now for each of these, I am going to have them fairly pale. So I'm probably not going to put in as much mica as I would normally use. And if they're still looking a little bit dark, I will add a little bit of titanium dioxide, especially with that blue, to just soften it down a little bit, and probably with the neon purple as well. So I'm going to muck around a little bit, adding the TD. So that's the ombre I'm looking to achieve. Now we were allowed to do pretty well whatever we liked on the top of our soaps. We could do a swirl, we could put some embeds on them, whatever. So I'm going to do some piping on the top of my soap. Now what I did a couple of days ago in preparation for this is I piped a selection of little pretty purple and green flowers, and then I used, where I did the green, used the extras up to do some little leaves. And then I did some leaves in another colour as well, so green. They come up a little bit, a bit leery, so I'll see what they actually look like against the rest of the soap. I am going to do some more piping with the same colour green that I've got in the soap as well. So I'm going to mix up a little bit of piping. Now the reason I've done these in advance is I've done quite a few videos with me piping in, and I'll link to some of those in the description below. But this challenge was really about the ombre pour, so I will be doing a little bit of piping, but I don't want to have more of the video about piping than it is about the ombre. I'm going to start getting my colours ready. Now what I've decided to do is, because I actually want, can you see my blue bit here? I do actually want to see an area of blue. So what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to divide it into thirds, because what will happen if I did it into thirds, if you think about an ombre, I would start off with my pink, and as I get through my pink and start mixing it with my blue, I'll get sort of like a purpley bit, and then when I start bringing in my green in, then that will go into be sort of like a darker green into a lighter green. And the problem is, if I'm trying to share, if I'm trying to do like a third, a third, a third, it's quite likely that I'll never really hit blue in the middle, or I'll end up with that green sort of coming in a bit too quick. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that well. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the amount of blue soap that I use slightly bigger, so it's got a bit more to spread between those two areas there, the shaded bit, and still leave a little bit to hopefully still hit that blue colour in the middle. Now my mould takes 1400 grams, so I've decided, I just worked it out there, that I was going to do 400 grams, this is oils, of the purple and the green, and then I'm going to do 600 grams of the blue, and that's oil weight. So that's how I'm going to divide up my 1400 grams of oil that I need for my soap. Right, I'm just going to pre-disperse these colours in some oils, and then I'll come back when I've done that. I've dispersed my colours, and I'll bring those out and show you in a minute. This little pot here is just a tiny bit of piping I'm going to be making up. So I've got 60 grams of oil in here, and that's going to be more than enough. So there's my oil, bit of lye solution and sodium lactate, and also I've got some of that tropical green mica in there. So I'm just going to get this mixed up first. will do. It's not particularly thick at the moment, but I'm just going to leave that sitting around until I'm ready for it for the piping. This is one of those greens that goes a bit of a sort of sludgy, yucky, browny, horribly green until after saponification, but that will brighten up once it's saponified. So for my ombre, I need to mix all of my oils and lye together in one go. It's not a layered soap by any means. And I want to keep these as cool as possible. Now, ideally, I always soak between sort of 80, 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So I really want to go as close to 80 as possible. So look, that one's at 80 Fahrenheit and my lye at 80. I've just warmed them through in the microwave a bit. So that's perfect. Now the key thing here is I need to keep this super fluid. So I'm only going to blend it a little bit, and then as I muck around with the colours it will start to come to trace, but I'm definitely not going to get it to trace at this point. Okay, that's all I'm going to do at the moment. Okay, so what I'm going to now do is get this divided out. Remember, I wanted the two slightly smaller amounts for my neon purple and my green, and that slightly larger amount for the blue. So I'm just going to weigh this total amount. Okay, so I've weighed out my portions. I'm now going to add, in this big pot, I'm adding my dispersed shimmer blue, and this is shimmer blue from Mica Mama. Okay, that's a little bit dark, but that's fine. I'd rather have it a bit darker than take it back with some TD, and I'll do that in a second for all of them. This is my tropical green, again from Mica Mama. I'm quite happy with the shade of that green, actually, what I've got on my picture. This is my neon purple. Now, do find with purples, it's difficult to try not to put too much in, because if you put a purple in and you don't put sort of like your normal amount, I tend to find they come out quite grey. I have cut this neon back. Neons are a little bit more resilient. So that's a nice pinky purple colour. Okay, so I'm just going to bring in some titanium dioxide. Just going to weigh that. 478. And just note down what I've got, and then as I muck around with that, I can obviously note how much I'm using for my records as I go and make up my batch records for this soap. Okay, and just lighten off my neon purple. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with those colours. Now the fragrance oil I'm using today is Lilac from Craftovator in the UK. This is a really great floral fragrance. It smells really lovely and it's really popular in the shop actually. But one of the good things is it has actually got a really slow trace on it, which is unusual for a floral, so that's a great one. Right, let's have a look. Now that soap, you don't know if you can see it on there, has held together nicely. It does seem to be emulsified, so that's great. So I can now just get my fragrance in. I've left it out of the green for the moment because that one's going to be going in last. It is a slow moving fragrance, but I really don't want to take any chances. And if anything, it might, if my batter's got a little bit thicker, then it would help me slow that down as I pour that in. So let's just give that a nice blend. Well, mix. Right, and then let's start. So I do want to see my purple on the bottom. There's this, like often is the case, it's tricky to see pouring. That's why I bought these clear moulds, so you can got a chance of seeing. Right, so I'm going to start off with my mould. Actually, I might tip it up a little bit. I don't need it as severely angled as that. There we are, that's better. Hopefully you can see that a bit better. So I'm going to start off now. I'm going to pour a reasonable amount of the purple in, because I do want to see this purple in the soap. Okay, and then we're going to just start gradually adding in just little bits of the blue. That funny noise you can hear is birds running on the top of my studio. Okay, so can you see I'm only adding a very small amount each time, because I don't want to create any lines. I just want to gradually change the colour. Can you see that's now turning that more into a, well, it was quite a pinky purple to start with. It's now turning it into a more bluey purple, almost getting to the same colour sort of my gloves, which is great. Okay, so the slow trace is really important for this. So I'm going to give that green a stir. Okay, so we're nearly through all the purple now. Pretty well, getting mainly just blue in here. Okay, and I'm pretty well there now, and on to just primarily blue. So I'm now going to put the rest of the blue into this sort of pouring jug. Okay, you can have a couple of goes with just the blue, so I do get that blue layer. Okay, so that's given me a nice bit of blue there, and now I'm going to start bringing this green in. So this green stayed nice and fluid. Let's pop that fragrance in, and now start adding my green to my blue. Now this is looking a bit of a sludgy, horrible colour at the moment, but remember I've got that green in it that's a bit a yuck until it goes through saponification. That will come out much brighter, nicer green. So, although this looks a bit of a yucky colour, doesn't it? Okay, and again, I think I'm nearly there with using up all the blue-green mixture. And I'll nearly be ready to just finish off with that top layer of green. So now I've got all the rest of the green in that jug just to finish off. Okay, so let's just get that poured in. Okay, and then just finishing off, and you still want to be pouring down the side you started pouring. Don't go and now pour this all over the top. I'm just going to clean up the sides of this and then just clean up my jugs and everything, and then we'll come back and finish off the top. Okay, I've got my piping all set up now, and I've just got it in the leaf tip. I think it's a Wilton 49, oh no, side it upside down, a Wilton 67 leaf tip, and I've got my little flowers that I piped yesterday. I'm going to pop these on. And I'm just going to start piping with my leaf tip. So with this one, you want to put it sort of like the flat, so it's flat. It can either be sticking up in the air or flat, and it's the flat way that you want this one. And we're just going to push in and go push, push, pull. Oh, didn't do that well, did I? Push, push, pull. And then push, push, pull. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to take some of these other leaves that I made previously and just going to pop some of these in as well. Yeah, I think that'll do for those, because I can always save those for another soap, and also those rose type flowers. Okay, and I'm just going to fill in those gaps with the piping bag. Okay, so I'm finished with that now. The top looks a little bit dull, but I'm pretty sure that that green, let's hope that green is going to brighten up. It has done every other time that I've used it. So I'm just going to leave it like that, put it overnight to C-pop, and then we'll come and see what that looks like when that's gone through saponification. Here we are back with our soap a couple of days later, and it's come out really beautifully. That green has lightened up really nicely. Remember, it was that sort of sludgy sort of green when we actually had it in with the lye. So obviously after the saponification, it has brightened up really beautifully. Now what I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to cut it two ways, because if you cut an ombre like a normal loaf of soap, so just slice it down this way, you'll get a curvy ombre. If you cut it so the soap bar goes across this way, so like that's the face of the soap and it's cut that way, then you'll get a straighter ombre. So I'm just going to show you the differences there. So what I'm going to do is just going to move this over so I can just get half of it cut. So let's have a look at what we've got. Ah yes, we've got a lovely, can you see how gradual that ombre is? How that's gone through there. That's come out really nicely actually. You can actually see a slight shift in it. I think that'll be where I lowered the soap mould each time. So we've got a little shift with that ombre colour there. But they've come out really nice transition there. Okay, so there's the curvy ones. Okay, so I'm going to set my cutter up because the total width of that soap is 15.3. So I want 5.1 because I'm going to do 3 bars. Right, so let's just get this lined up. Now this little extra thing that I've got on my cutter here, Custom Craft Tools cutter, doesn't come with the cutter, it's just something that I made. I just prefer having a stopper on mine rather than trying to use a ruler each time. Right, that's going to cut me at 5.1, so that's what I want. Right, so let's get these cut down. There's one, so obviously that side ombre that we've already seen. 2, 3. And then, so that's going to be the width of the bar, and so we're going to just chop them in half this way. And we should find the ombre this time is, rather than the curvy look that we had on these ones, can you see we get a straighter ombre on these ones. They'll end up being the same weight bar of soap, they're just obviously different thicknesses in various directions. Okay, so we've got a nice transition of that ombre. I've always liked the straighter one myself personally, but lots of people like the curvy one. And there's our last one. A little bit of curl at the end there because that was the end bar. So you can see the difference on the bars. As you can see, the one I cut in the normal way, can you see how it's wider than this bar? But can you see how this one is actually a fatter bar? So they'll end up both being the same weight. It's just the cutting them with the different style gives us a different design going through. I actually really like this size. I find it a really nice size to use in the hands. I've actually got quite small hands, so that I actually do really like this size styler. But sorry, I actually really like this size of bar. I find it really comfortable to use in the hands. Okay, so there's those. Next thing I will do is obviously get some photos taken. I'm going to leave them a couple more days. I think this will brighten up a little bit more on the inside, and then it's going to be exposed to the air, and that green has properly finished saponifying, turning into that nice bright green. So I think these will sort of brighten up a little bit further, but we will come back with some final photos. And here we are with a final photo of the soaps. I decided to enter the straight ombre soaps in the soap challenge for this month, and good news was I actually won the winners category of the soap challenge, so that's really exciting. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video and you like the soap. If you have, it would be great if you gave me a thumbs up. If you'd like to see what I'm making in the future, why not subscribe to my channel? Thanks for watching everyone. Happy soaping!